Honourable Anne Tolley.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker, tēnā koe te whare. A large part of Te Urewera and other parts of the Tuhoe Rohi, including the centres of Taniatua and Mongapahatu, fall within the East Coast electorate that I have the great privilege to represent here in Parliament, and it's a huge honour for me to stand here today to speak at this first reading. The National-led government is making great progress on completing final and durable settlements of Treaty of Waitangi claims. Mr Speaker, this today is one of the most significant settlements during my time in the House, and I want to acknowledge those from Tuhoe who have travelled down to Wellington today to speed this settlement on its final journey. Settlements recognise and right the wrongs of the past and strengthen partnership between Crown and Māori. Settlements also help iwi unlock economic potential and boost regional and provincial areas. It is the right thing to do, and it benefits all New Zealanders. This settlement will bring great benefits to the region. It will be a boon for the people of Tuhoe and for regional economic development on the East Coast. So how does it do that? Well, firstly, this settlement reconnects Tuhoe with its homeland of Te Urewera. It gives them a financial base with which to help their people prosper where they are born, and it provides them with the means to make choices for themselves. Most obviously, the settlement provides for commercial redress of $170 million. So secondly, this allows the iwi to develop an economic base. And Mr Speaker, I well remember, I think it was 2009 actually, Tamati Kruger and Matt Tuhoe sitting in my electorate office in Whakatane explaining this to me and saying that this was dependent upon the return to Tuhoe of Te Urewera. And I said to them, I just can't see that ever happening. It's a national park. I can't see that ever happening. I understand what you're saying, but it's so hard to do. But we've done it. Together we've done it. Tuhoe has already begun the process of revitalising Taniatua with the construction of its outstanding new high-tech tribal community centre and headquarters, New Zealand's first living building, sourced largely from local materials. So they are already showing economic and environmental leadership. The tribe has the experience and aspirations for ecotourism in this pristine part of the country. However, Mr Speaker, just as important is the sense of a new relationship between the iwi, its neighbours and the communities of the region. In a formal sense, the settlement provides for relationship agreements with some government agencies and exploration of such agreements with key local authorities. In a practical sense, the process of agreeing on a historical account and the apology of the Crown in recognition of the wrongs of the past smooths the way for opportunities for forward-looking collaboration and common purpose. Tuhoe can now feel free to participate as leaders properly in the region that is their home without feelings of estrangement. Tamati Kruger, who has provided superb leadership to his people, said on third degree program that he saw Mana Motahaki as, quote, interdependence. He said, we quite like being part of the region, part of the district. We are part of New Zealand. We like to think we have dual citizenship, end quote. And an example of that was in the Gisborne Herald recently, which reported that the Wairoa, Whakatane and Rotorua councils, along with Tuhoe, are working together on proposals for improvement to State Highway 38, which is still the only unsealed part of the state highway system, to make it more user-friendly. And those of us who've travelled along that magnificent road and you get past Murupara and all of a sudden it goes down to what could be described as a goat track through some magnificent country, 17 kilometres I think it is, of gravel, shuddering gravel. and that would be a great project to see that completed. Although some of the locals are a bit worried because they don't like too many people going there. Mana Motahaki redress relates to improved relationships between Tuhoe and the Crown and the delivery of government and iwi services to Tuhoe communities, and includes the Crown-Tuhoe Relationship Agreement signed in 2011, which provides a foundation for how Tuhoe and the Crown will work together, the Social Service Management Plan, which governs relationships with and the management and delivery of services by key Crown agencies and Tuhoe over the long term, and the initial planning is for 5 years of the eventual 40-year period. It sets out how the Ministries of Education, Social Development, Business, Innovation and Employment and 3 district health boards in the area will work with Tuhoe to address disadvantage and improve social outcomes in Te Urewera. Tuhoe is engaged throughout in the same spirit of inclusiveness. During negotiations over the often difficult subject of Te Urewera, they engaged extensively with other users of the park in order to define different groups' expectations and values for the area. And not surprisingly, there was a great deal of shared values in terms of the importance of biodiversity, conservation and access. The innovative redress in this bill, reflecting a Tuhoe view that Te Urewera is its own identity, has its own intrinsic rights and interests, provides for Tuhoe and the Crown's representatives to govern Te Urewera in its own best interests while maintaining access for all. And to those of us that know, that love and respect Te Urewera, that's absolutely correct. It stands alone. It's often surrounded in mists, often secretive, hiding its beauty to be revealed to only those who appreciate it, especially if you're trying to fish in Lake Waikaremoana. But it does have its own personality. It does have its own breathtaking beauty, and it is, and always has been, an identity in its own right. But we need laws to encapsulate that, so the current national park land will be vested in a Te Urewera legal entity and protected under new standalone legislation. This legislation will recognise and provide for cultural values associated with Te Urewera and will include key principles relating to the protection of biodiversity, natural and historic heritage, public input into management and public access into the future. Mr Speaker, this is a significant bill for Tuhoe, for the East Coast region and for New Zealand, and I speed it on its way through this House. Kia ora tātou.
Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
He honore he kroria he maunga.